Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Supreme Court of Nigeria affirms Willie Obiano as duly elected governor of Anambra State. Injured South Africans from the synagogue building collapse return home. Private schools across the country resume as students in the public schools get set to resume October 8th. And a French national has been kidnapped while on holiday in Algeria. A quick reminder to you that all our top stories are on our website, channelstv.com, and on youtube.com/channelsweb. And do visit m.channelstv.com to view us live on your mobile device. You can also download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS and Windows phones from their respective stores. And of course, we urge you to interact with the Channels Eyewitness feature on our Android, iOS and Windows 8 platforms. If you have pictures or videos to share with us, tap the application on your device, swipe to reveal the Eyewitness menu, and then follow the instructions. Now to our coverage of the controversy over the resumption date for schools, which has led to several debates regarding the safety of the students when they're there. Now let's bring you up to speed with the situation in some states of the Federation, most of which have made different arrangements. This next report reveals our findings.
It is perhaps one school resumption day that has generated much controversy, and a day most parents, guardians and even pupils reluctantly waited for, as Government and Teachers Association have debated on this for several days because of the Ebola virus disease. From Lagos, where the Liberian American Mr. Patrick Sawyer, the index case, visited, most schools are closed to academic activities. At some public schools, teachers are on ground but no student. And as Channels Television moved around town, we discovered that the story is different at some private schools. The few students that are back for school work are enlightened on cleanliness through regular hand wash. In other parts of the nation's southern region, precisely in the southeastern state of Abia, as soon as students arrive at the school gate, they are being tested with thermometer, while in some other schools, there are no signs of pupils or even their teachers. And to Cross River State in the south-south, doors of the classrooms of most public schools are under lock and key. In some schools, such as this one, the teachers were on ground to receive their students in preparation for academic work. But resumption, they understand, is now put on hold following directives from the Nigerian Union of Teachers. The principal of this school confirms that the school got delivery of the funds from the state government, but according to NUT, the amount is not enough to purchase the necessary tools for the prevention of Ebola.
So if you ask a primary school head teacher to go and buy a bucket and give for construction, for a tap to be constructed on the bucket, what about the supply of the water? You understand? A lot of things are supposed to be put in place. It's good to delay. We are just joking about it. We only pray to that this virus does not come here. But you know what it means if it comes.
In Edo State, still in the south-south, school heads say they welcome the resumption date, but they have on their own make necessary provisions to ensure they keep Ebola at bay.
We don't know whether they are brought to Edo State or whether they will bring it to schools today. So that is why we are here. We have just resumed. We don't even know what is happening. We are just here because they asked us to resume today.
We have a thermometer, which you see. We have the buckets with buckets of water with sanitizer, and we ensure that the children, they all wash their hands and wipe it before they go to their classes. We also have in classes too, apart from this one outside. And all these things are put in place by the school, not the government.
And up north, in Kaduna State, the state government has earlier assured the teachers that 6,000 thermometers, sanitizers and hand gloves had been procured by the Ministry of Education for onward distribution to the over 6,000 schools across the state. However, The non-availability of these testing kits in most of the schools has raised questions on the safety of the students and teachers who have already resumed for classes without being tested. Here at this school, pupils are asked to wash their hands inside this small bowl without sanitizers. In Jos Plateau State, students are enthusiastic about returning to school. They are seen cleaning up their facilities ready for classes.
Plateau State schools have been well trained and well prepared, to monitor and observe tendencies that could lead to suspicion on Ebola virus.
It is the early days in the resumption arrangement by the federal government, and hopefully issues between the teachers who do not agree with the government will be ironed out soon to allow even academic calendar in the schools across the federation. Sheung Okimbale, Channels Television News.
In the meantime, health authorities in Nigeria have been advised to continue to emphasize public health education, even as the country has no case of the Ebola virus disease. A country director of the U.S. Center for Disease Control, who was seconded from South Africa to Nigeria, Nancy Knight, in an interview with our health correspondent Yomi Otaigbe, talks about what Nigeria did differently that played a major role in the containment of the disease.
Nigeria's response in terms of the difference from other countries had to do with the speed at which they began their response by identifying the imported case and the establishment, the utilization of the incident management system with the establishment of an emergency operations center. So the first part is identification of the imported case. That came from the healthcare center where that individual went to seek treatment. So again, it points out to us just how critical it is to obtain all of the details when you're talking with someone who has fever, nausea, diarrhea, etc. Right now, Nigeria has polio that has been occurring, and they've, for the last few years, been using an emergency operations center in order to contain polio. And it's been quite effective. The number of cases of polio in Nigeria has been steadily decreasing over the last few years since the emergency operations center system went into place.
Well, let's move away from health matters now. In about 6 to 8 weeks, the emergency repair work of the Apapa-Oshodi Expressway undertaken by the federal government should be completed. The Minister of Works, Mike Onolememe, who is in Lagos to inspect various federal projects, says the ultimate aim of the federal government is to reconstruct the entire stretch of the road.
It's a busy work day for the Minister of Works as he is in Lagos to run a professional eye on ongoing federal government projects. After a brief stop at the contractor's yard, he moves to Eco Bridge, but his concern is beneath the spans. In 2008, this bridge suffered damages to it by fire emanating from structures underneath. And in response, these beams, 48 of them, were installed with a 700 tons capacity. Sadly, today, the shanties are back and all sorts of activities go on here.
We are rolling out a new regime of right-of-way regulations, and it's going to be followed by strict enforcement. Like the menace we saw under the bridge just now, it's unacceptable. No self-respecting government will accept that kind of situation. They are going to hear from me very soon. And I can assure you we are going to do something very radical about what I saw there. Because in fact, it is even, I think there is just a lot of lawlessness in the place in terms of right-of-way abuse in Lagos. And we need to show example with Lagos.
The dreaded Apapa Road is the next stop, and if the U-turn period with its attendant pressure from the ports is any consideration, then completion time will be a key for sanity on this road.
We want to completely reconstruct the road. And in doing so, we are taking into cognizance the very heavy loading the pavement has been subjected to, because when it was designed over 30 years ago, it was not envisaged that the volume of traffic on this road will be this high. So in the new design, we've taken that into consideration, and the ports and the oil tankers, their problems are also solved. Then normalcy will finally return to this place.
When the news at 10 returns, Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation, that's the NDIC, calls for a better risk management system. That's on Business News. Do join us again.